He's a turnaround.
Hello and welcome to Springboard, your virtual university. My name is Albert Ocran. Welcome you to Ghana's foremost developmental program and that place where the greatest minds in the world converge. Springboard is brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation in partnership with Enterprise Group MTN Ghana and the Ghana Growth Program, a collaboration between Mastercard Foundation and Springboard. Our media partners join 99.7 FM Joy News Television, the Springboard channel on YouTube, and the graphic group of newspapers. Today, we continue our journey exploring the various roles of a manager. Professor Henry Mintzberg once put out 10 managerial roles that he said were an encapsulation of everything the manager does. He was generous to cluster them into three groups: the manager as a relationship builder, the manager as an informational person, and the manager as a decision maker. Today, I want to focus on the relationship building part of management. I'm sure some proponents will say that is the most important. When you stand, depending on where you stand in this conversation, you will say that is the biggest priority. My guest for today is an expert, or shall we say, she has a proven track record in building relationships and networks. And it's just such an easy conversation to have. She is the founder of the Leading Ladies Network and the managing director of HQ Consulting. Whilst here at Springboard, she simply is Yawa Hansen-Quao. Yawa, good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. And I still am asking myself why you have not been a regular on the virtual university.
You must this is one of those questions we have to figure out.
Well, good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Family, everybody good?
Everyone is well.
Media broadcasts, your programs, your coaching programs, all going well?
Things are going well. Things are amplifying this year.
Which of them gives you the most fulfillment?
I am most fulfilled with my one-on-one coaching.
Why?
Because you get to see directly what's happening with the leader you're working with. You get to bear witness to the struggle, the aha moment, the pain, and then the triumph. I think with all the other programs you do, people are with you for a set time, then they leave. And often when we have our check-ins and things like that, a lot of people, the energy has dissipated. The energy with which they came into a program dissipates. But when I work with one-on-one clients, it's different because I'm in the engine room with them. I get to read their facial expressions and see what is not sitting well. I get to be a provocateur. I get to be a safe space, but I also get to be a midwife of sorts. For those who have been pregnant before, we know what it's like to have a good midwife who makes you feel safe enough, comfortable enough, but also is truth-telling enough to say, this is about to hurt. I'm about to do this. Push, it will hurt. So they're telling you enough truth to make you feel like this is a balanced person who's in my corner. And with that, I don't think there's anything that replaces the joy of that, because I've seen many leaders through difficult transitions, through vying for a higher role and not getting it. I've seen, there's a coaching client that I'm working with now that's in such a tense place with her board of directors. And there's been a lot of truth-telling and a lot of provocation that hasn't always sat well. But if you're really, the more you do coaching, the more you realize that sometimes you can't really be a friend to your client right now. You need to be the voice of reason and the one who's wounding them, because there's a truth that they're not willing to receive that needs to be received in order for them to move to the next level. And I think for a lot of people, the higher they rise, they have fewer and fewer people that will tell them the truth. And because of that, coaching becomes this magical space where you are far enough from their daily reality that you have a view on their life, where you can see where things aren't measuring up. And if they are open enough to let you speak truth to them and take the wisdom that you share or use the resources you point them to, it's so powerful. You feel, and a lot of these things you can't go tell people because this is private, this is confidential. But that gives you, well, that gives me at least a sense of joy that's indescribable.
I tell you what, we could do a full show on the leader or coach as a midwife,
Hmm.
and it would be very beautiful. But let's stay with this because it's at the heart of relationship building where we see the manager thrives best. Two things I would like to explore. The first being that you mentioned that in big events, in public presentation sessions, and so on, people get to receive, they get to reflect, but you don't get that kind of interaction that gives you a deep sense of where they are. But in those moments where people can get to be in workshops, they can get to work them out, they can get to get responses, and even have a one-on-one session. That is where the real person comes out. Do you get a sense that sometimes people fear those moments because they don't want to see what is in that box?
I can empathize. It's incredibly scary to let someone into your world. I remember the first time I worked with a coach. I I was shaking, physically shaking as she was talking to me. I could not calm my limbs
Right.
because she was asking me deep questions. And I I was I no one was talking to me the way she was talking to me and asking of me questions the way she was asking them of me. So I can empathize with anyone who would rather stay shallow because it's safe and rather not be seen. And the truth is, you can do that up into a certain level, but for those who are ambitious and want to go far, there is a wisdom in letting people support you. I like to use the word undergird for the role of a coach or for someone who's leading someone as a team leader. When you're undergirding someone, it's kind of like the role of an undergarment. You may have a really nice dress, but if you don't have good undergarments, the dress doesn't quite sit well on you. Similarly, you may have a really great title, a really great authoritative role, but without proper undergirding, you can't really wear your
Mm,
power well.
mm.
And I think that that's, partly why I think a lot of people would rather, "Oh, I'll just go read the book quietly. Nobody knows the
Yeah.
change that's happening in me. I'm not being accountable to anyone when I do that. Nobody's checking on me." And I feel like, I have a safe distance. But sometimes the biggest and best growth that you enjoy in life comes from letting someone walk with you and see the ugly and call you out on where you're not adding up. You've always been saying this, but your behavior is this, and there's a mismatch and there's accountability. So I think for me, I've seen firsthand as someone who's been coached the power of just getting real with someone, having a space where you're talking through things and having the journey of transformation so that you can actually see for yourself where you're growing, where you're still struggling, and have a place that's actually outside of your organization, outside of your friendships, outside of your other core relationships, where you're contemplating deep issues of life. And you can't do that without being comfortable in your own skin, because I think that that's the real underlying value or the underlying issue.
And allowing yourself to be vulnerable.
We can't do vulnerability well
Yes.
if we don't have self-acceptance.
That's,
And so that me shaking and me, I was afraid to be seen. I
yeah.
felt like an imposter. Did I really deserve to be in this job? And if I'm the only one this coach is talking to, I can't hide behind a
Anyone else?
talkative
Yeah.
who's in the group. I can't hide behind anyone. It's me. And I think getting comfortable with that earlier in your leadership journey is important because it makes you a better leader of your team.
Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to
Nobody wants to die.
die. You say you want to get to the top.
Yes.
You pray about it. You believe it.
Yes.
You aspire. Now, somebody who knows, who can see dispassionately the errors you are making
Mm,
is trying to point you and say, listen, until you deal with this, all your dreams will come.
mhm.
And yet you
I
fighting.
rebuke it in Jesus'
I
name.
know, right?
Why can you say that to me?
I
I
know.
used to be so thin skinned, so sensitive to feedback. Why would you say such a thing to me? I thought you were my mentor. I thought you liked me. I would systematically avoid people who gave me, feedback. But now I hold on to people who have enough interest in me to say, sis, can I talk to you frankly about something? And give it to me. I receive it. I thank God for it because I'll say it in the way that someone once said to me, there can be no perfection without correction.
Mm.
You can't be perfect without correction. And I think sometimes, especially those of us in faith communities, we're so grounded in the sense that God exists for our pleasure. Meanwhile, it's vice versa. You know, God will prosper you, God will help you. It is well. I receive it. And it kind of subconsciously conditions us to think that there's nothing I have to do. I just have to believe it. And I think I got set up for that kind of belief system at a point in my Christian faith because I was in my career, but really not, to be honest, open to feedback that wasn't great. So if someone ever said that, this could be better, say, get behind me, Satan.
Absolutely.
I mean, why is she trying to kill my vibe or kill, you see? And praying against people in my office or people in my world who I felt were friction and that they needed to be removed, but not recognizing that those were actually gifts. That I was learning how to relate with people that had tedious personalities,
Mm.
learning how to not just look at how a person is speaking to me, but what they're saying. Can I sift between, because sometimes people come at you with an energy that you regret. But the truth is, let me still process this. Is there something here that's worth receiving? And let me receive it. And let me be so grounded in understanding that I'm on a journey. I'm not perfect. And God will send you these situations to wrestle out of you the types of inadequacies that will make you an embarrassment to him
Mm.
in the future.
Mm.
And so I remember once having lunch with a mentor of mine, and I was telling her that my life looks a bit stagnant right now. I know I'm gifted. I was a bookworm. I've always loved reading. I love, getting knowledge. The Bible says knowledge puffs up. So I think I got to this place where I'm feeling like I know so many things. Why am I not being asked to do things? Why am I not progressing? Why am I not? But it was because my relational acumen didn't match my academic.
Stay with that point for 1 minute more. Say it again.
My
Exactly like
relational acumen was not on par or above my academic knowledge.
break it down in regular English.
Your relationships, your ability to relate to people is one of the key ingredients for anyone's success. There are people who know very little, who go very far because they've understood how to relate to people with excellence and with grace. And there are people, and I was on that trajectory, that are very knowledgeable. We know things. You can press a button and we'll talk your ears off for days. But we didn't know how to convey a sense of respect, cordiality, a sense of openness, a sense of warmth, and a sense of ease. So there's this really great book I would love your listeners or those viewing us today to perhaps consider getting, The Power of Thinking Big. And the author talks about this theory of becoming easy to lift. Like a lot of us aren't easy to lift because we feel so entitled, so qualified, so important that a lot of people would rather just work around us or work with someone else who's a lot easier to lift. And part of how you become easy to lift is by improving your relational acumen. So that means things like learning how to, you know, speak less and listen more,
Mhm.
learning how to be interested in the other person more than you are in yourself, learning how to be a conversationalist.
Mhm.
I used to be very cerebral because I read a lot. I always have something I'm thinking about, always. And one of the best pieces of career advice that I ever received was, Yawa, fix your face. You kind of look like you have a scowl on your face all the
Oh my
time.
goodness.
You look a little angry. And not that I was,
Intensity.
but there's this intensity
Yes.
of how I think about the world and think about things, and it would show up on my face as like a smirk or a frown,
And you don't see it.
and you don't see it. And, some people call it the resting. I don't know if I should use a French word here, so maybe I'll leave it at that.
I know, right?
This face that looks perpetually angry. Um, there is something about learning how to self-regulate your emotion, your emotional state, your facial expressions that signals to others that you're ready for leadership. Because where you go determines what you hear, and what you hear determines what you do, and what you do then determines what you become. It's not just the technical. So number one, I realized that I was over-indexing on knowledge. And knowledge is good, but it doesn't open doors. What opens doors are relationships. People who have seen you create value in different spaces, who then feel confident enough in the value that they've seen you create to introduce you to your next higher level for value creation. And to become that kind of person, it's an inside job. You have to, number one, be open to some mentorship, be open to hear things about yourself that you wouldn't ordinarily hear because, everyone around us often is in our corner and they would probably applaud us even if we're wrong. I don't know if you've ever done that before.
Absolutely.
Someone is whining and is just venting about something, and you know that this is the person that would not receive correction, or maybe not at this time. So you just listen to them, you smile, you pat them on the back, and you move on.
Knowing very well
that they are their village person. They are talking about a village person somewhere who is doing them some sort of African electronics, but they are the village person that's standing in the way of their next opportunity. And I think that I needed that wake up call. And I think it came from having these conversations with older women in my life at the time who I got real with and said, look, you know, if you were to assess me as a person, as a professional, what advice would you give me? And
it takes humility to do that.
It took me a lot of humility, but that's how dissatisfied I was. So at a certain point, you have to be sick and tired of being sick and tired. If things aren't moving,
you're talking my language.
Yes, you have to say, what must I do to be saved?
Preach.
What must I do to stop earning less than what I know I'm capable of commanding? And then people who, when they see your seriousness, will now tell you the truth. That you always look angry anytime I see you.
I'm still here saying you're speaking about the story of so many. I don't have any empirical research to back this, but I can tell you you're speaking the story of so many people who are at the crossroads in their lives who say, listen, I just can't understand that last interview.
Yeah.
I know I was the best and somebody else got it. And I think I know more than they do. And that was the 7th time I've been bypassed. And you're saying you probably are thinking an extra degree, more knowledge, more technical competence is all that there is. But the relational capital or relational equity could be the hidden truth you've not explored.
True.
And that is what you've been saying for the first half of this program. You've gotten us to a place where I'm sure many people are saying, you know what, I'm suddenly realizing that if I don't fix this, this could be my story for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough.
It can be, but it doesn't have to be. And here's why. A lot of what you need is not rocket science. It's just learning to be better self-regulated.
But that's what makes it more difficult.
You see, I think what I have found, it was way more difficult to read all the books I read, to take all the courses that I took, to do all of the... this is the easier way. There's this passage of scripture where I think it's the Apostle Paul who says, let me show you a more excellent way. You've been doing all this stuff, but let me show you a more excellent way. And especially now with advances in technology and artificial intelligence, you're not really being paid now for what you know. It's how you apply what you know. It's the transformation that you're able to bring to a system, to a problem. It's your solution orientation. And then it's really also, are you the kind of person that this organization feels comfortable being represented by? And so for a lot of people, they're technically smart, but maybe have bad social skills. They chew gum in public. And just for those who may not know, Gum is considered dental product. So if you would not brush your teeth in front of a person, don't chew gum in front of people. All right. It's executive presence, it's posture, it's handshake, it's social skills, it's graces. I've been on a over 20-year journey on improving my communication. I used to be ridiculed for having a deep voice. I used to struggle to, even if I knew the answer to a question, I wouldn't raise my hand because I had a self-consciousness about how I speak. But the world will judge you for what you find words for. So being quick to index on now the speaking ability, your presence, your image. Are you embodying the sense of a leader? If your organization was a person, would you kind of look at like what they want it to look like? There's a very American saying that if you look like the boss, you speak like the boss, you walk like the boss, eventually you'll probably be the boss. So a lot of this is also mirroring the kind of people who are where you want to be, having the humility to learn from them.
And it starts with awareness.
It's
the sense of awareness.
It really is.
When I come back, we're going to take this and break it down step by step, especially for the person who says, you have provoked me today, but I think I'm ready. So we'll take that when we come back from this break. So where you go determines what you hear, and what you hear determines what you do, and what you do determines who you become. Those are the words of Yawa Hansen-Quao, telling us exactly where many people find themselves on this journey to become who you believe God wants you to be. And that disconnection between your current reality and your aspirations, that continuous question about why am I not getting there fast enough? She recommended a book, and I'm sure some of you are trying to figure out what book it is. So just for your purposes, it's The Magic of Thinking Big. It must be by Dr. David Schwartz.
That's the one.
That's the one. It's on your screen for those who are asking which book is that. Find it, buy it, and read it. An investment in your learning would expand you and stretch you. But you're always saying that beyond that, at the heart of this conversation is relational skills. And so we'll start from scratch and help you appreciate the different relationships and their purpose in your life. That buddy best friend is not the same as that person God sent to correct you and guide you. They can't be the same, so don't compare them. This is Springboard, your virtual university, brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation in partnership with MTN Ghana, the Enterprise Group, and the Ghana Growth Program, a collaboration between Mastercard Foundation and Springboard. Our media partners, Joy 99.7 FM, Joy News Television, the Springboard channel on YouTube, and the graphic group of newspapers. When we come back, let's start from the genesis all the way to the revelation of building amazing relationships. Please don't go away.
Years ago, MTN arrived in Ghana and everything changed. It's time to celebrate you big time. The MTN at 30 promo is here. Win one of 9 Toyota Land Cruiser Prados and your share of over 10 million Ghana cedis in rewards. Let's be your connection plug in your everyday hustle. Make video calls, browse the internet for business with family and friends. Make that money move and stay ahead, because every move counts. Ghana, let's celebrate 30 years with the MTN at 30 promo. Connect, use, build points, and win big. Dial *530# or visit my MTN app for more. T's and T's apply. Enterprise Blue FM.
Enterprise Blue FM, the butt.
It's DJ E on Enterprise Blue FM. Guys, after the heavy rains this week, we are looking for the calmest person in Ghana. Who's the most chill person you know right now? Let's go.
DJ, what's the matter? Look, the flood entered her house and completely submerged her car. Next thing I see on her WhatsApp status, she's smiling and sipping tea on her balcony. Like me, I'll be crying, but she's totally relaxed. DJ, AJE, it's true. Fastest home and car are destroyed. But this girl is not stressing at all. She just tells us everything is under control. Hey, Masa, how?
Wow, Manza, we need your secret too.
They say and so are da. But when unexpected floods strike, we've got you covered. At Enterprise Insurance, with over 100 years of experience, we say whether it's home, motor, travel, or insurance for your business, at SOA, da. If it happens, chill.
Enterprise, your advantage.
Welcome back to Springboard, your virtual investor, and to this incredible conversation with Yawa Hansen-Quao about the manager as a relationship builder. I think we've gone beyond the manager today to just talk about the individual God created as a relationship builder. And she's taking us on a very interesting journey of unpacking how you can build one side of your life to this level. For those on radio, you can't hear the level, but a very high level, and then keeping the relational part on a mid, and that dissonance and how it can disrupt your life and deprive you of opportunities. I want to find out then if you are at that place where you feel left behind in this area, what do you do? But even before that, how do you get to that place of awareness? So just so you can begin to make the change. But let's start maybe with different relationships and their purpose, just so we don't confuse everything around mentoring and around coaching. What are the different types of relationships that God brings your way in life? And what purpose do they serve?
I like to talk about 3 categories of people that I think everyone should be seeking to cultivate relationships with. I would say the first are mentors. And a mentor, in my opinion, is really someone who's already taken the journey that you want to take. They may not be in the exact industry or field, but they are a type of what you see yourself becoming. And a mentor that you don't necessarily, in my opinion, also need to have a personal relationship. I've been mentored through people's books and listening to their series or teachings or whatever content they've produced. And and if you can have a personal relationship with them, it's even better. I think that some things are taught, but some things are just caught.
Observed, yeah.
You catch it by just watching and observing how they interact. So I have a mentor who's very valuable to me. We're not even of the same faith, but I learn so much. Sometimes I'm in her office and I see how she interacts with people or handles a tricky question or is in this environment. I remember once I attended a function with her, and as her guest, something unexpected happened. She was hosting this high-level thing at her home, and a very unexpected but very high-level guest arrived. And because of the nature of her job, she needed to report this. But when I looked at how she handled the person, the situation, made a plan on the spot, it was more than a masterclass.
Wow.
So when someone does give you proximity as your mentor, I think sometimes we screw it up by thinking of the mentoring relationship as more than it should be. A mentor is not your shrink. This is not a person to help you deal with your psychological traumas. They are not your fiscal sponsor, someone who's to pay your bills. They are not, a mentor needs protection, especially if they're high level. They shouldn't feel that you are using them to get something. And so your ability to be discreet and confidential and to be deferential, no matter how long you've known them, is important.
Still in the differential before just one more.
Deference gets lost quickly if you are not wise. Someone gives you access and you all of a sudden feel so familiar with them that you no longer give them a place of honor in how you speak to them, a place of honor in how you safeguard them. You will soon see that the door will eventually close to you. The mentors that I value, I protect. I really hardly ever ask for anything, especially in the early stages. I'm here to, what do you need from me? What can I offer you? So if you're looking for mentorship, part of how to build that is to go with the mind of I'm not going to get, I'm going to give. So that your first conversation with them is not, will you please be my mentor? I tell all of our young people, never do that. Don't put the pressure of that. Some people are mentoring me. They don't even know I consider them a mentor. But is it possible that you can become so interested in what they care about and offer help on a regular basis, offer to be available to them if they need anything. Because again, there's a lot that's taught, but most of it is caught by just being in their environment when you do have the physical.
The person who doesn't catch it, and even when you explain it, still doesn't get it.
I think there's a piece of my journey that may be worth mentioning here. The importance of praying about what's really going on in your situation right now. I felt like I over-indexed. I did with my own strength. Like I just get another degree. I'll get this certification. But I felt like God opened my eyes to this sense of like becoming aware of myself. And so there's a really great book for people who love books like I do, Why You Do What You Do. It's a book by Tim LaHaye, and it talks about the different personality types. And I began to see my personality for what it was. I began to see the deficiencies of the kind of personality that I have. That as I'm an internal processor kind of person, that's why I was always kind of serious minded and couldn't build good relationships. And it gave some tools to me to help me begin to refine my personality, especially when it came to how I related to people. So I do think there's a process you have to go through first to build a foundation of self awareness. Another good book on relationship building is How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's a classic. I think it's by Dale Carnegie, if I'm not mistaken. And there's another one called Who's Got Your Back by Keith Ferrazzi. And my last one on that would be a book called Never Eat Alone. And it's also by Keith Ferrazzi. Those were, I think, the 5 books that I think really helped me. But, until that veil was lifted from my eyes, I couldn't quite see that I had a problem. I thought everybody else was the problem.
The 4th one, don't let me miss it. Keith Ferrazzi, you mentioned 2 books.
So Keith Ferrazzi, the 2 books are Never Eat Alone and Who's Got Your Back.
Who's Got Your Back? That's one.
Who's Got Your Back is like a relationship action plan. Like map out your stakeholders. Who do you want to build relationship with? He even has a template in there about how regularly to check in on them. And so often, a lot of us are good at initiating relationships, but not maintaining them. And so maybe sometimes I write notes. We talked about this last time. If I see an article that I think they may enjoy reading, I'll send it to them and say, I read this article and thought about you. How to have touch bases that aren't overwhelming, but at the same time keep you top of mind.
Clean, and they put you in a certain class.
Exactly. That you're not, because for a lot of us, we see Reverend Ocran, let me get a selfie. Man of God, lay your hands on me. Don't do the go taking. Do the go giving. Man of God, I noticed
subtly, cleanly,
and cleanly.
You mentioned mentoring as one. There are 3 of them. What's the second one?
The second one, I would say, is counseling. I really am amplifying counseling these days because I'm realizing that a lot of people, no matter the age, emerging leaders, mid-career professionals, or even senior leaders, have gone through some things that are traumatic, things that are really, really difficult. And we don't quite see the usefulness of having a space for our psychological safety. But for me, the second category are counselors, people who help you deal with the heaviness that comes with living life and having betrayal and disappointment and things not going your way. Because sometimes when people's work starts to dip, their performance starts to cave, it's usually a function of something personal, deeply personal happening in their lives. For me, in 2017, I became mother to a special needs child. That changed me deeply. I was no longer able to function professionally. I was spilling the venom of pain. Let me put it that way. That some people their misbehavior, the irritability, the anger, it's something broken that hasn't been addressed. And sometimes we take that to the mentor, and the mentor is not there for that. They probably are also ill-equipped for that. Sometimes we call our friends and we're talking about something that's deeply traumatic and so there is a place for professional help. I have 2 key counselors that I speak to on a regular basis, especially when I feel like I've just been hit by something that I'm struggling to handle alone. Because often,
Use the word struggle very comfortably.
I didn't always used to be this way.
I mean, what I'm loving about this conversation is not the very big points. It's the things that most people can't express, that you express so comfortably, as if nonchalantly. You don't hear leaders talk about struggle. You don't hear them say it. You don't hear them say, I used to be this way until my eyes were opened.
Mm-hmm.
And that, the quality of those commentary, it's not lost on me. I'm sitting there saying, but this is
Thank
how
you.
we should be. We should be able to say, I've struggled with this before, and now here I am. Because it makes it authentic
Yeah.
and relatable. Thank you for that, Yawa.
Well, thank you for noticing, because I also wasn't always this way.
Right.
I was very stiff upper lip. Nobody should see that I'm struggling with anything. And where did that get me? I think that there's a power and vulnerability that I'm leaning into the older I get. And the more help that I get, the more I want to show people that you can still be pursuing, but also be humbling yourself to acknowledge that there's some parts of you that are still broken. And I think that those broken parts of me are shining a light for people to say, oh, if she's even dealing with that, then I have nothing to be worried about. I can still persist. And I think, this idea of being proactive in finding people who have capacity to help you manage your stuff, the emotional stuff. Some people are dealing with divorce, the pain of separation, or the betrayal of infidelity, or the childlessness. And it's become the preoccupation that's making them go crazy. And they're not being productive at work, and they don't see the correlation, because we bring all of ourselves into leadership. And if parts of us are broken, we have high tendency to break the people we lead, which is why you need to handle your stuff. You need to be so self-aware that something is a bit off. Something is a bit off.
You mentioned self-awareness. It means that because of your peculiar situation, things will trigger you that
Yes.
you don't know are triggers.
Yes.
Anytime something is mentioned, a particular thing happens. It reminds you of something you've not yet dealt with, that you may not even know is there.
Exactly.
And you behave consistently, reacting in the same way to the same thing, and yet you don't even know the origin.
And we won't be able to differentiate between what's real and what's imagined. You're imagining that this male boss giving you critical feedback now is that husband who left you, because he represents that type.
Something about him reminds you of
Something about him. You don't see the correlation, that you're not receiving the instruction or correction because you've not dealt with that piece of you that's still hurting. As someone who's parenting a special needs child, I have to be especially mindful about being so empathetic that I can't lead a team to produce. Someone can come tell me a sad story, and then because I know the grief of this, so being able to.
I must commend you on how you handled it.
Thank you.
Very commendable.
Thank you.
Very beautiful.
Thank you.
And I'm sure many have found strength from watching you and saying, I can do it.
You can do all things through Christ who gives you strength. Part of how he strengthens you is by relationships. I remember one of my first phone calls was to a mentor when this crisis happened. I was even still in the hospital with my son. And she said something that just really set me up to see this thing differently. She said, Yawa, God knew all of this and still trusted him with you. And number two, you have to be able to differentiate between what is fact and what is truth. Oh, she set me up for the fight that I've been on these 8 years. Because I called her in brokenness, expecting that something this terrible shouldn't happen to me. I pay my tithe. I go to church. I pray all the time. I try to be good to people. There's this expectation that we all have about what our life should look like because of all the boxes we feel like we've ticked, right? And she helped ground me and say, if this happened to you, it's because God knows something about you that you don't yet know, that you can handle this. You can deal with this. And your job now is to differentiate between what is truth and what is fact. The fact is, your son has been diagnosed with blah, blah, blah. The fact is, most kids that have it don't live to see their first birthday. But what are your truths? What are you standing on? What are you grounding in right now? Oh, my shoulders lifted. Wow. The power of being related to someone
and the right person at the right time.
Yeah, who could give me a different perspective. I called her with a victim mindset to complain about this horrible thing that had just happened to me. And everyone else was patting the back with pity.
Yep.
She heard me, she let me cry, and then she grounded me. So part of why this relational acumen is important, it's for your crisis moments. It's for the moments where you forget who you are.
And you must build these relationships before the storm.
Before you need them.
Don't now reach out and say, I am a young lady, 34 years old, 26 years old. I'm going through this
crisis. They need to have known you.
No connection.
They need to have seen you. They need to have experienced you. Then they know what you can receive.
Let me use the word equity, capital, relational capital. Purely, it sounds a bit mechanical, but I'm just using it in relation to the fact that sometimes you see people trying to draw from a relationship they've not even built or invested in, and their
truer words have never been spoken.
Their need is the only basis they are reaching out. I need help.
Yes, and it never ends well for those types of people. There's another book, if I may. It's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Oh, yes.
It's a fantastic classic, and I got certified to train as a 7 Habits facilitator. And in his book, Dr. Stephen Covey talks about the relational bank account. And it really fits into what you're just saying. That imagine that you have a bank account with everybody you know. You know you can't go to any bank and try to withdraw what you've not put in.
Absolutely.
So you have to be thinking about, what can I start putting in here? Let me save a little goodwill here with this person now. These days I'm drawing on the goodwill that I've been investing for years with certain people.
Somebody says you are lucky. I wish I was.
And someone will say she's lucky.
I saw you the last time with, I think Campo got to be in that interaction as well with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and other leaders. And I see you quite a bit hanging out with leaders that you've probably built these relationships with over the years.
Yes.
So says, oh, wow, I wish I had what you have.
Yes. And it will be easy to say, it's because of this or it's because of that. It's because of this theory we're talking about now. This emotional bank account. Assume, what is it that I can continue to give? And the reason why giving is the best strategy, and even the Bible affirms it, it's more blessed to give than to receive. How can I help promote her? How can I help promote him? This person that's come into my world now. How do I demonstrate that I value them, even if they make no investment in me now? How do I seek their counsel in a way that doesn't distract them or disturb them? How do I stop with all of the asks and just brood in their presence? And a lot of us don't know how to do that.
Why?
I think it's because we're an instant gratification culture. And quite frankly, I used to be that way. I want to make you go to the networking event, you're handing out your business card, you're making it rain, you want to quickly talk to everybody. I'd rather go to events now and talk to one person deeply than to 10,000 people shallowly, because those deep relationships open doors quicker and help you actually become more of a humane person. And in those conversations, I'm also offering more than I'm trying to extract. Oh, we met here at this time, at that time, and you talked about this. May I introduce you to someone? So introductions have become a superpower for me, because now I've built this really impressive network of people that I know, that now when I meet someone and I feel so inclined, having kind of investigated, you can also now open up your network to them and say, which is what I did the other day.
Absolutely.
I've known President Sirleaf since 2014, and I can count on one hand how many times I've asked her for things. And what I asked for was for her to just come and mentor my network. It wasn't even for me. Because the truth is, part of what you build when you focus on relationship, it's a trustworthiness that is worth more than money.
And trust can be, Kobe, who you quoted in his book, The Speed of Trust.
Yes.
This is
business at the speed of trust.
Business is, the cost of doing business is lower, and it's faster to do business. When the
Could
trust
I
is
tell you a quick story about that?
absolutely.
There's a woman who was in our Standout Women's Leadership program recently. She works for one of the banks. And she said, I would not have signed up for this program, but let me tell you why I did. She said, you may not remember, but in X years, so it's probably 12 years ago, we were doing something and you spoke so rudely to me on the phone.
You're joking.
Oh, I have some Americanisms in me because we lived abroad. I kind of sometimes, am prone to bouts of anger, which I'm learning to regulate. But she said, I've seen a change in you. Every time I've seen you over the past few years, I've been impressed by you. I'm here because of you, not the content in this program.
Oh,
I'm here because of you. And I stood and I was a little embarrassed because she also said this in front of the whole cohort. But I was also like, this is proof that this works. That when you learn to become a better regulated version of yourself, when you learn how to amplify the relational beyond the technical, when you understand that sometimes it's better to lose the battle so that you can win the war eventually, you become a different person that gives off a different type of energy. So that I don't put the pressure on a relationship that I've just cultivated to reap something that I can pluck off now. I'm more likely to use this theory of the relational bank account to say, how can I support? What can I do? If I'm in your city, I will come bearing gifts because gifts open doors. Asking you nothing because there's just that human tendency that once you've demonstrated safety over a safe enough period of time, people will now actually, without you asking, invite you to things. So sometimes I get a call, do you want this? Something that is being advertised.
I know, right?
And then you get the call, would you like to do
Are you
this?
joking? Flesh and blood has not revealed this to you.
Exactly. So whether it's a mentor, whether it's a counselor, someone who's helping you deal with your mental traumatic stuff, or whether it's a coach, and coaching is something that I think anyone who's ambitious needs to really consider.
While you are at it, hold on a second. Will that be the third one? Because you mentioned mentor,
the mentor,
you mentioned
counselor, and the third is a coach.
Because my listeners and viewers are note takers.
All right.
I don't want to get phone calls after and say you owe us one. So the third one is a coach.
Yes.
Right.
And coaches are, really important for people who want to go fast and far. I think I've been so greatly helped because you can make a lot of estimations that are wrong. I am who I am because my father didn't look after me. I am who I am because that uncle disappointed us. When you're born, you look like your family. But when you die, you look like your decisions. And one of the decisions that I think a lot of career-minded people need to start making is a decision to start investing in their personal development through coaching. A coach is someone who may not, I love to give the example of Usain Bolt, who used to be the world's fastest man. If you looked at his coach, he was a pot-bellied man. It didn't matter. He wasn't the one on the field running, but he knew how to get into Hussein's head to give him strategy, structure, and accountability to make him the fastest man. And I think that that's what I would love people to start thinking about. If this is my career ambition, with whom might I need regular interaction with for the sake of accountability, for the sake of strategy, and for the sake of being undergirded? Because a lot of us say that leadership is a lonely space, but I think it's as lonely as you decide for it to be.
And would you say that the undergirding is what people don't pay attention to?
This undergirding, these core relationships, mentors and counselors and coaches who help ground you with strategies and tools to help you navigate what comes up in those unfolding journeys. Because most of us, our career starts to take off at the same time when our parents are aging, our children are growing, we're torn in our private lives, we're taxed in our public life. And then there's a generation of people who are judging you that you should be mentoring them as well. And so there are all of these dependencies. And I think part of how you make sense of it all without self-destructing is through these three categories of help that I think everyone needs.
Mentor,
Mentor, counselor. Mentor, someone who can share experiential learning. Counselor, someone to help you process your deep-seated issues, manage your emotions, self-regulate. Coach, someone with whom you work on strategy so that you go fast and far. Because, I know we have an adage that says if you want to go fast, go together. But if you want to go far, if you want to go far, you go together. If you want to go fast, you go alone. But I think coaching is what helps you go both fast and far. And I've seen that in my own life because I could complain and say, me, I didn't have this, I did. But find the people. The scriptures say that we're surrounded by a cloud of witnesses. Who can bear witness to what it takes to be at this level? Find them. And in Ghana now, for those who may be interested, there is an association of coaches. If you've never worked with one, usually the process is that you can talk to them, have a discovery call, see if you're a good fit, because you definitely want someone that you feel good rapport with. There are, I've worked with coaches in Ghana, in the UK, and in the US. And look, every experience has shifted something. Every experience improved my personal appearance, improved my communication, improved my ability to handle, one of the coaches that I had, I was working as, a key person in an international organization. It was a new language, dealing with a new international board. And without that coach, I don't know that I would have done well in that job. Because the truth is, I could complain and say, this person doesn't like me. That's the easiest thing to say. But the harder thing is to have some truthful conversations in a safe space with someone who's on your side to help you see every angle that you might be missing because you don't know what you don't know.
I'll tell you what, there are two things out of all the things you've said, and it's been an amazing conversation. I've enjoyed it tremendously. I think that for those who are note takers, I owe it to them to tell them the books you recommended.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go at them one by one. First, there's The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. There is Why You Do What You Do by Tim LaHaye. Third one is How to Build Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. You recommended Who's Got Your Back by Keith Ferrazzi. You mentioned Never Eat Alone, also by Keith Ferrazzi. And the last one, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. So those who are note takers, find these 7 books, buy them, and then read them. Yeah, well, as we wrap up, the 2 things you've said that I'm reflecting on a bit more than the average person would. One of which was your use of the word undergird, and the correlation between that one and, as it were, in almost graphic terms, the underpants, and how one would focus so much on what you are wearing outward, and then ignore what is critical but unseen, which is almost like that undergirding you described. You're saying that people should pay attention to that because without that one, it could be badly exposed on the journey.
Exactly.
The second thing you said that I find very enthralling is the fact that you could invest so much in your technical ability and believe that you are the best in that.
And you might be right, but who cares?
Somebody said to me the most revelatory words in the world are, and so what?
And so what? So what?
And so what? And you are good. And so what?
I shudder to think where I would have been if I continued on that path. And I've met a few people who give me a taste of what my life could have been. Nobody respects us. Blah, blah, blah. I should have been. I know. I did this. They're beating their chest with an expectation that what they came to know would have been their salvation. Forgetting that the relational capital is just as or even more important. So that's why I've become really passionate about helping professionals polish their professionalism. That it's not even just the technical abilities. It's what's the vibe, the mental orientation that you have. And what are you doing to undergird your soul, your spirit, and your mind? And how much regulation, and I keep using that word because It's kind of a
It's,
boring
it's,
word.
it's at the center of emotional intelligence,
Yeah.
self-awareness,
And
self-regulation.
regulation. But
Yeah.
it's kind of a boring word because most companies hate their regulator, right?
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
industry, it's like, this thing is not necessary.
Yeah.
These people are getting in the way. We want to do business, but the regulator is in the way. Without regulation, you don't have as great an outcome as you could. And without being able to just have the maturity to know when you are actually in crisis, you need to step back and deal with what's happening there. I remember we were hosting one of our standout women's leadership programs in Kenya last December, and I lost a dear friend just a month or so before, and I was not okay. I remember landing and saying, you know something, what, why this needless pain? I texted my counselor and said, does she have time for a session? I needed a few sessions with her before the event. The event was like 2 days. I was like, I'm not in the right headspace. And she reminded me because I thought something is off. The spiritual part of me will think the witches and wizards are working again. She said, Yawa, have you forgotten? You just lost your friend. Have you, give yourself, she had to remind me. And that's what I mean. Journeying with people who can see the chapters of your life and help you connect the dots because you cannot see the picture when you are in the frame. So having people who are outside of my frame to tell me that, I think this is grief.
Connected to.
This is grief talking.
I interviewed a doctor who said the reason why you don't hop from one doctor to another is that one has your records.
Exactly.
So she knows exactly where you are.
Exactly.
You can say this must be connected.
Exactly.
This thing that happened in your life.
And that's why I'm saying the relational piece has helped me.
I know what? I'll let you go on only one condition.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do this again.
Yes, sir. You've got it.
Yeah, let's do this again. Yeah, well, look into this camera and talk to somebody who's saying, I don't know where to start from. Everything you said today is my story. Do you get that sometimes?
I do.
You say, like you took my story and wrote the script end to end.
I do.
If somebody says everything you told today is my story, I just don't even know which part to take out. What would you tell them to close?
I would tell you to not get so overwhelmed trying to fix everything at once. I would start with one thing. Not all the things that I've said, just one thing. And make progress on that one thing. Maybe for you, it's finding a counselor to talk through the traumatic thing that you've just experienced or are experiencing. Just do one thing. Give yourself grace to not feel like everything needs to happen all at once. The second thing I would tell you is don't try to do life alone anymore. You cannot be your best self by yourself. We weren't designed to be. In fact, the scriptures say that if you are in the light, you will have fellowship one with another. So this idea of I walk alone, I do life by myself, it's not godly. It's not in your own interest. I really want to encourage you to find help, ask for help, pray for help, but also pay for help. Don't be afraid to invest where you want to go. You may need to pay for the counseling you get. You may need to pay for some coaching. But let me be proof that it's worth it to become this version of yourself that can do greater things. This version of yourself that can be accepted and received in bigger spaces. And this version of yourself that can impact people beyond your wildest imagination. So I'm rooting for you. If God did it for me and through me, I have every confidence that He'll do it for you and through you.
Wow. I'll tell you what, we've traveled this journey together for almost 2 decades. Myself, you, comfort you, Charles, and our family, your family. And I am so proud of the version that is unfolding out of your journey. And I can't wait to see what God will do next with you.
Thank you.
You can count on one thing, that we are solidly behind you as you track this journey.
I am honored.
And looking forward to see many more things that we can celebrate together.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for the honor of being here.
Springboard your virtual university, always bringing you amazing conversations and experience. And Yawa, you've been absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you.
Let's do this again. And this has been brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation in partnership with Enterprise Group, MTN Ghana, and the Ghana Growth Program, a collaboration between Mastercard Foundation and Springboard. We have been supported in the media space by Joy 99.7 FM, Joy News Television, and the graphic group of newspapers, as well as the Springboard channel on YouTube. My name, as always, Albert Ocran, saying God bless you, and God bless you. He's on a turnaround. Whoa, whoa. Turn around. Turning point. Yeah.